Where do people without insurance go to receive healthcare? The short answer is that you go to the nearest emergency room, that is, if you trust them in a health crisis. Some ERs in some hospitals are not trustworthy based on my direct experience either as a patient being treated or watching a close family member being treated for illness or injury. Some hospitals are not trustworthy because they either do not have quality personnel in attendance at the ER, and/or the people who staff the ER possess a bad attitude for whatever reason, and so you don't want negative people who either hate their jobs or hate their patients treating you in a crisis. Reputation counts for something, so it helps, especially if you are new in town or just visiting for a week or two. It is good to engage some locals in small talk and ask them about how they or a family member were treated at the local hospital. The people who have experienced treatment at their local ER, good or bad, they will give you their opinion, and if 2 out of 3 people you might ask say you should seek treatment elsewhere because they have experienced trouble in getting proper care in that particular hospital, then you should consider getting help where better help is available. Sometimes your very life may depend on the facility you chose to visit in an emergency, assuming you have that choice, which oftentimes you don't when arriving by ambulance. Then after doing your homework, either online or just by word of mouth, you can intelligently draw a consensus from those reports in making your decision whether to visit an ER, urgent care clinic, or community clinic in any town for emergency care for you or your family member. The question seems simple, but the premise of the question is vague, so in answering this question, where do you go? If you feel you really need emergency care, the nearest ER is the place to go 9 times out of 10. Emergency rooms are found in hospitals, and hospitals get well over 50% of their funds to meet their operating expenses from the feds through Medicare and/or Medicaid coverage many people carry. Thus the feds have required most hospitals by federal law to at least assess you in case of a medical emergency like chest pain, symptoms of a stroke, or if you are bleeding badly or have a broken bone, insurance or not. The first question asked as you enter the ER should be in line with, "What are your symptoms?" and "How can we help you tonight?" and not, "Do you have insurance or a credit card to cover this visit?" You will be asked eventually in most cases while in the ER about any current health insurance, and they will ask routine questions like address, phone number, and ask to see your identification, which is all good, but those questions can wait until later in the visit when you are not under duress. Better yet, if you have the advantage of a family member present, they can take care of that department for you and deal with the business rep that comes into the ER to collect personal data and insurance information. When you don't have the benefit of health insurance coverage, you will feel probably a little humiliation at first when you go for medical help, but realize that medical personnel are not there to quiz you about the history of your lack of insurance, but rather they are there to quiz you about your health history and meds and allergies, and especially the worst symptoms you might be experiencing while under duress, so they know what to tell the doctor before he comes to examine you. Just about any doctor's office. They may ask for payment up front, or may allow you to make payments. If you can't afford that, many communities have clinics that operate on a sliding fee basis, based on income. If there is a teaching hospital in your community, they probably have a sliding scale clinic, or the county or a religious group may run one. The ER will stabilize you. How aggressively they try to collect on the bill depends on the hospital. If they're poor enough to qualify, they can use a free or sliding scale clinic, assuming they have transportation to one. Or they can go to the emergency department. They'll still get a bill, and it will be a gigantic one, but they won't have to pay up front, as they would at almost any other point of care. If they can prove they're low enough income to qualify, the hospital will sometimes reduce the bill. Only if it is a true emergency will a hospital pick up the tab for an ER visit. Most today will bill the patient regardless, if it is not. Sometimes an urgent care clinic will see you, but for regular care try finding a regional medical clinic in your area, which covers visits on a sliding scale or for free.